Well, it looks like there's a new Purge movie coming out called Purge the Beginning or some damn thing, the first Purge or something. But anyway, it's a prequel to the other three movies. It's the first Purge, numero uno, where it all began. In any case, this will not be about the series per se. It will be about what if the Purge was real. So anyway, moving on to that. For starters, it's, in case you're not familiar with it, the Purge is about a world where for one day, for one night, for 12 hours, all crime, including murder, is legal. You just can't use any quote-unquote class 4 weapons, whatever the hell that means, or shoot government officials that are ranking 10. Anything else goes. You can't kill government officials that are ranking 10 or whatever, but anything else goes. You can rape, you can steal, you can kill, you can set fire to anything you want, you can do a whole bunch of crazy crap. But let's talk about what would happen if the Purge were real. You would most likely see an economic boom in, home security devices, firearms, body armor, tactical training, survival gear, shelters, bunkers, cameras, all that weird stuff. And, but then of course there would be a crash at the end of every year when everything got destroyed. And that was my thing about the Purge. I was always thinking, especially in the second movie, it's like they were in downtown Los Angeles, and in the third movie they were in DC, and it's like, why is it not an inferno? I mean, it would take about 10 minutes within a Purge to, for every major city in the United States to be transformed into basically hell. Be like look like Dresden or Tokyo after they were firebombed. I mean, those cities would be engulfed in flames very quickly. And there's no fire department around to stop them because all emergency services are suspended. But anyway, I mean, grocery stores need to be restocked daily, and they would just be gutted. And not to mention the logistical train with the trucks that restock these grocery stores every day. I mean, they would be stuck in traffic jams if they weren't already destroyed. And another thing about the Purge is, like, everybody stops as soon as the first siren goes off. The craziness isn't going to stop. It would take quite a while for the law enforcement people to come back and everything like that. The emergency services, the EMTs, the fire department, the police, everybody. It would take a while for them to get back on duty. You'd see a lot of, what's really crazy is that, it would probably end up being the end of society because, organized crime figures would assassinate witnesses on the Purge. Terrorist attacks would be, would be easy, not only easy, but impossible to investigate. I mean, there's so much shit that they could do. They could poison the water supply, they could do a whole bunch of crap. And another thing where it gets interesting is the legal system. Yes, I know where all crime is legal, but there's a scene in the movie where in the first movie, where a guy says he's going to go hunt down his boss on a radio show. And I'm like, does that count as conspiracy to commit murder? Does it? Or communicating threats or something like that? If you're driving, or if you steal a car during the Purge and are driving around, are you in possession of stolen property? If you shoot somebody and they die after the Purge, or they die a day or so, let's say a day after the Purge concludes, is that murder? Because it's like, if somebody dies after you kill them, that's considered, after you shoot them, that's murder. Is it murder once again? I mean, And if you hire a hitman to kill somebody, is that conspiracy to commit murder? If, that I could just go on and on about all of this. And plus, if you start a fire and the shit gets burned up after, then it's not going to stop after the purge, obviously. If anything that gets burned up are you responsible for arson? There are so many intervals here. And it just gets really crazy really fast. Anyway, the way it would change society is you'd probably see like a whole lot of militias forming. The 3%ers would probably get a huge spike, as would, street gangs, protecting the neighborhood and all that crap. And these organized groups would protect their neighborhood from looters and all that shit. And like what we saw in the riots in Los Angeles, I mean, the Koreans and several of the other Asian communities just banded together and got their big assault rifles and everything. And were just waiting for somebody to come loot their store. And that really changed things. I mean, their stores weren't looted, obviously. But anyway, it's like, another thing is, I know all crime is legal for 12 continuous hours and only 12 continuous hours, but who's going to be watching the prisons? I mean, you could have a mass revolt in prison quickly and have a huge mass escape afterwards. And so you'd have, and not to mention that they would get a few hours head start to do whatever. I mean, they could steal cars, and drive, for hundreds of miles, and not stop until they're hundreds of miles away from their respective prisons. And, there's a whole lot of craziness. And, see, what would happen is the economy would just, again, with all the home security devices, weapons, ammunition, tactical training, fitness training, just all this stuff, the economy would just, and not to mention tourists, people coming in and going out of the country, people wanting to get out of the country to escape the purge, and people coming in to experience it, the tourism would skyrocket, like really high. And everything would just, a lot of things would just, the economy would just get a huge boost, and then it would crash whenever there was a purge. Because what goes up must come down, and the economy is no exception. And it's kind of like a manic episode, like where the whole country, the whole economy is just manic, like a person with bipolar disorder, just everything's just going haywire, going higher and higher and higher at just an insane rate. And then when the purge happens, it just drops like a 1,000-pound rock. And so yeah, it would just be boom, all year. And socially, it would make people very, very paranoid, because it's like, people would be like, oh, that guy just insulted me. He said, no problem. Is he coming to get me at the purge? If I cheat on my significant other, or does their husband know? Does their girlfriend know? Are they going to kill me? Are they going to kill my mistress or whatever? That romantic rival, is he coming for me and my girlfriend in a jealous rage? A whole bunch of crap. And, they say that crime just drops during the purge. I don't think that necessarily all crime would drop probably a lot of violent crime would drop, but not a lot of other crimes, because it's like, in the purge, credit cards would probably shut down to avoid, people using a stolen credit card to go on a spending spree. A lot of things like, Amazon would shut down and all that shit. And, we probably wouldn't be able to commit white collar crime like in during the purge. And granted, you wouldn't be able to probably sell drugs either. You would have to, but although there would probably be huge shipments coming in from both Mexico and Canada like just huge trucks just driving along with big convoys and everything. And, you know, shit like that. Anyway, there would also still be shoplifting and all that shit. And of course, you know, like shops probably couldn't run during the purge, but they would have to, you know, probably steal a bunch of cars and then have them in a big parking lot ready to be chopped up once the purge was over. And there would also be, I guess, purge celebrities, like with people running around with, like, you know, helmet cams and cameras and videos of them capturing and torturing people and all that crap. And they would appear on YouTube and Live Leak and all these shocker websites, like all that shit. And it's like everything would just go, you know, crazy. And I don't think that I don't think in reality any nation on earth could withstand a purge, because even though it would be, you know, depopulate obviously and kill off a lot of criminals, I mean, gangbangers would just have major wars, because they've got 12 hours where they can just do whatever the hell they want, and they would kill each other in huge numbers. So you'd probably have the gangbanger life expectancy reduced dramatically, despite the fact it's already pretty low as is. But, you know, it's kind of like all this prepper bullshit. It's like for the shit hitting the fan, or SHTF if you want to use the acronym. It's just, you know, for one night it would be SHTF, and it would be pretty crazy. And I mean, it's like, you know, you'd have people again launching terrorist attacks and assassinating government officials, because even if that is illegal and they can't use quote-unquote class 4 weapons for 12 hours and probably more, who the fuck is going to be there to stop them? Granted, there would probably be militias and all that stuff who would dish out vigilante justice, and those would appear very quickly. But anyway, the Purge, it just seems, it's a really cool movie and an interesting concept, but I just don't think that in reality that social experiment would work. It would probably end up gutting our nation. It would probably do more harm than good. But anyway, it certainly is a fun movie, and it's a fun idea to think about, like, what if the Purge were real? And I really, I admit myself, I think about, like, what I would do during the Purge and all that stuff. And it's pretty crazy. It's fun. It's a lot of fun to think about. But it's just, in the grand scheme of things, it probably could never work. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but I seriously doubt our economy, despite the huge boosts it would get, could sustain such a thing. I don't think our society could. I don't think our legal system could. It's just, you can't just turn modern society off for one day and expect everything to go back willy-nilly the next day, because all that destruction, it would take a long time to rebuild. It really would. And would they be able to get everything up and running? And anyway, I may do a future video on the Purge and talk about this some more, but this will conclude my video for now. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I hope you enjoy this video. See you next time.